The alarm screamed through every corridor of Aegis 7. Admiral Taeyang Kim stood on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the holographic display floating before him. Red dots swarmed across the screen like angry hornets. Phyrexian battlecruisers, hundreds of them, closing in on Earth's orbital defense platform. Plasma fire lit up the darkness of space. The shields flickered with each impact, their blue glow pulsing like a dying heartbeat. Taeyang's jaw tightened. 15 years. That was all humanity had been part of the Galactic Federation. 15 short years since first contact, and now they were fighting for survival. Commander Heejin Park rushed to his side, her tablet glowing with tactical data. Her dark eyes scanned the numbers, and none of them looked good. The Phyrexian Dominion had committed everything to this assault. Earth was the prize they wanted, and they were willing to burn half the galaxy to take it. "Sir, the outer perimeter just collapsed," Heejin said, her voice steady despite the chaos. 3 defense stations are gone. The Chitauri forces are requesting permission to fall back. Taeyang looked at the insectoid aliens on the secondary screen. Their compound eyes gleamed with fear. The Chitauri were excellent pilots, but they followed the Federation's rules of engagement to the letter. Hold formation, conserve ammunition, wait for reinforcements. Those rules had served the Federation well for centuries, but today they were losing. "Tell them to hold position," Taeyang ordered. "Reinforcements are 3 hours out." 3 hours. It might as well have been 3 years. The Phyrexians wouldn't wait. They never did. That was what made them so dangerous. While the Federation debated honor and proper tactics, the Phyrexians just fought to win. Captain Doyen Choi appeared on another screen, his face covered in dirt and sweat. Behind him, explosions lit up the frozen landscape of Siberia. The Phyrexians had started landing ground forces an hour ago, dropping their shock troops in the most remote places on Earth. "Admiral, we've got contacts all over the Northern Hemisphere," Doyen reported. "Antarctica, the Australian outback, northern Canada. They're avoiding population centers and hitting infrastructure. Water treatment plants, power stations, communication hubs. Smart, Taeyang thought. The Phyrexians weren't trying to kill humans directly. They were cutting off the supplies that kept civilization running. When the power failed and the water stopped flowing, panic would do the rest of their work for them. "Deploy ground forces according to standard protocol," Taeyang said. "Protect population centers first, then move to retake infrastructure." Doyen hesitated. Just for a second, but Taeyang noticed. The captain wanted to say something, but discipline held his tongue. He saluted and the screen went dark. Heejin moved closer, lowering her voice. "Sir, we're losing. The protocols aren't working. Maybe we need to try something different." "Like what?" Taeyang snapped, then immediately regretted his tone. Heejin was right, but what choice did they have? The Federation's military doctrine had been refined over thousands of years. You didn't just throw that away because one battle looked bad. A new alert flashed across Heejin's tablet. She frowned, scrolling through the data. "Sir, there's a request here for tactical access to our defense network. Military designation, SEAL Team Osiris." "SEAL Team?" Taeyang pulled up the file. "A small unit, barely 12 soldiers, human special forces. Earth's own military had dozens of these teams, remnants from before first contact. They still trained, still operated, but they were considered obsolete. Why use primitive human tactics when you had access to alien technology and thousands of years of galactic military wisdom?" "Denied," Taeyang said. "We don't have time to babysit special forces. They'd just get in the way." Heejin looked like she wanted to argue, but another explosion rocked the platform. The shield strength dropped another 5%. On the main display, Lieutenant Mina Kang's fighter squadron weaved through enemy fire, their weapons flashing as they tried to protect the platform's vulnerable sensor arrays. Mina's voice crackled over the speakers. "This is Blade Leader. We've got 3 cruisers breaking formation. Looks like they're making a run at the platform." "Intercept and engage," Taeyang ordered. "All fighter wings, focus fire on those cruisers." The fighters swarmed like silver arrows, their weapons leaving trails of light through the darkness. One cruiser exploded, then another, but the third kept coming, its armor absorbing hit after hit. It was going to ram the platform. "All power to forward shields," Taeyang commanded. "Brace for impact." The cruiser smashed into the shield like a hammer hitting glass. The barrier held, but barely. Cracks of energy spiderwebbed across its surface. Taeyang gripped the railing as the entire platform shuddered. Sparks flew from control panels. Someone screamed as a console exploded. Then, silence. The cruiser drifted away, dead in space. The shield stabilized, holding at 30% strength. But everyone on the command deck knew the truth. They couldn't take another hit like that. Yejin's hands shook as she checked her tablet. More bad news. It was always more bad news. Admiral, sensors are picking up a massive energy signature. It's the Blood Maw. Everyone on the deck went still. The Blood Maw. The Vrexian flagship. A vessel so large it had its own gravity field. A ship that had destroyed entire fleets by itself. And now it was here, breaking through the planet's outer defense ring like it was made of paper. Taeyang watched it appear on the screen, a massive wedge of dark metal studded with weapons. Its main cannons could crack continents. Its shields could withstand a supernova. The Federation had tried to destroy it 3 times. 3 times they had failed. All ships fall back to Earth orbit, Taeyang ordered. His voice sounded hollow even to his own ears. Prepare for planetary evacuation. Sir, Yejin said quietly. We just received another message. It's that SEAL team again. Taeyang almost deleted it without reading. What could 12 humans possibly do against the Blood Maw? But something made him open the message. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was curiosity. The message was short. Just one line. You're fighting their war. We'll fight ours. Osiris. Taeyang stared at the words. What did that even mean? The Vrexians were everyone's enemy. There was only one war. But as the Blood Maw drew closer, its shadow falling across Earth like a funeral shroud, Taeyang wondered if maybe these humans knew something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Something about fighting when the rules said you should lose. The main display showed the Blood Maw's weapons powering up, massive cannons that could turn cities into glass. In minutes they would fire. In minutes everything would be over. Yejin looked at him, waiting for orders. The bridge crew waited. The entire fleet waited. Taeyang made his decision. It probably wouldn't matter. 12 humans couldn't stop the Blood Maw, but they were out of options, and sometimes you had to trust the crazy plan, because the sane ones had all failed. Give SEAL Team Osiris whatever access they need, he said, and pray they know what they're doing. The reports came in slowly at first. A Vrexian supply depot in Siberia went silent, then another in the Australian desert. No explosions, no distress calls. They just stopped transmitting. Federation intelligence marked it as equipment failure and moved on. They had bigger problems, but Commander Hyejin Park noticed something strange. Every silent depot was within 200 kilometers of a coastline. Every single one. She pulled up a map and marked each location with a red dot. The pattern was unmistakable. Something was hunting Vrexian positions near water. She thought about that message. We'll fight ours. What if these humans weren't fighting the same way the Federation fought? What if they had their own rules? Admiral Taeyang had given SEAL Team Osiris access to the tactical network, but he had made it clear he didn't want to hear about them unless they caused problems. Hyejin decided to ignore that order. She traced the communication signature from their last message and sent a direct request for a meeting. The reply came back in 10 seconds. Coordinates. A time. Nothing else. Hyejin took a shuttle down to Earth's surface, to a military base on the coast of South Korea. The place looked abandoned. Most personnel had been evacuated when the Vrexians started landing. Only a skeleton crew remained, and they eyed her Federation uniform with suspicion. A guard directed her to a concrete bunker near the water. Inside, the air smelled of salt and oil. Equipment covered every surface, but nothing looked like standard Federation gear. It was all human-made, designed for Earth's environments and Earth's wars. Commander Park. The voice came from behind her. She turned to see a man in his 40s wearing a dark uniform without any visible rank. His face was weathered, his eyes sharp. He moved with the easy confidence of someone who had been in more fights than he could count. Master Chief Jinho Seo. He introduced himself. You wanted to talk? The Vrexian depots, Hyejin said. That was you. Among other things, Jinho pulled up a holographic map showing Vrexian positions across the globe. At least 30 were marked with red X's. We've been busy. How? Hyejin studied the map. Some of those positions had been heavily fortified. The Vrexians have superior technology. Better armor. Better weapons. How is a 12-man team taking out their bases? Jinho smiled, but there was no humor in it. Because we're not trying to match their strength. We're using their weaknesses. He explained it simply. The Vrexians expected frontal assaults. They expected honor and fair fights. Their defensive positions were designed to repel large forces attacking from predictable directions. But SEAL Team Osiris didn't attack like that. They came from the water using the oceans that covered most of Earth's surface. Stealth submarines dropped them miles offshore. They swam in, approached at night, and struck at the weakest points. Communication arrays, power generators, supply lines. Then they vanished before the Vrexians even knew they were there. "You're not fighting them," Hyejin said slowly. "You're sabotaging them." "We're winning," Jinho corrected. "There's a difference. Your Federation fights with honor. You follow rules. That's fine when both sides agree to the same rules. But the Vrexians only care about rules when those rules help them win. They'll break them the second it's convenient." Hyejin wanted to argue, but she couldn't. She had seen Vrexian tactics. They talked about honor, but they bombed civilian targets. They demanded fair treatment of prisoners while executing their own captives. The rules only applied when it suited them. "Show me," she said. "Show me how you fight." That night, Hyejin rode in a small submarine with 6 members of SEAL Team Osiris. The vessel was cramped and dark, nothing like the spacious Federation ships. But it moved through the water silent as a ghost, its hull designed to absorb sonar pulses rather than reflect them. They approached a Vrexian command post on a small island. The aliens had fortified it heavily, with energy shields and automated turrets covering every approach. From the air or the land, it was a fortress. But from the sea underwater, there was a blind spot. The SEALs slipped into the water wearing rebreather gear that produced no bubbles. Hyejin followed, her heart pounding. They swam beneath the shields, which were designed to stop aerial attacks and ground vehicles. No one had considered an underwater approach. They planted charges on the power conduits that fed the base, small explosives precisely placed. Then they infiltrated through a drainage pipe, moving through the base's understructure. Hyejin watched in amazement as Jinho's team worked. No wasted motion, no unnecessary risks. Every action had a purpose. They reached the communication center and downloaded intelligence from the Vrexian computers. Data on fleet movements, supply chains, command structures. Information that would save thousands of lives. Then they set timers on the charges and left the same way they came. 20 minutes later, safe in the submarine, Hyejin watched the island's lights die as the charges detonated. The shields collapsed. The turrets went offline. The Vrexians would spend days trying to figure out what happened. By then, SEAL Team Osiris would be hitting another target. "You see the difference?" Jinho asked. "In space, you fight their way. Ships against ships. Honor and glory. Down here, we fight to survive." Hyejin nodded slowly. She was beginning to understand. The Federation had been fighting the wrong war. They had tried to match Vrexian strength with their own strength, but strength wasn't enough when your enemy was stronger. "The blood maw," she said. "Can your tactics work against that?" Jinho was quiet for a long moment. "Maybe. But we'd need support from the Federation. Ships to keep them distracted. And we'd need people willing to take a risk." "What kind of risk?" "The kind where you don't know if you're coming back." Hyejin looked at the dark water outside the submarine's viewport. The Federation had lost this war by fighting with honor. Maybe it was time to try something different. Something desperate. Something human. She pulled out her communicator and sent a message to Admiral Taeyang. "Sir, request immediate meeting. I have a plan for the blood maw." "You're not going to like it." The response came back quickly. "If it involves those SEALs, you're right. I don't like it. But at this point, I'll take anything. Report to Aegis 7 immediately." The submarine surfaced near the coast. As Hyejin climbed out, she looked back at Jinho. "The galaxy has rules for war. What rules do humans have?" Jinho's expression was hard. "Just one. Win and go home alive. Everything else is negotiable." The Vrexian Void Talons landed in Norway 3 days after Commander Park's meeting with the SEALs. They were elite hunters bred and trained for one purpose: finding and destroying special operations teams. 12 warriors, each worth 100 regular soldiers. They had never failed a mission. Their target was simple: find the humans who had been sabotaging Vrexian operations, kill them, make an example of them, show the galaxy that no one could hide from the Dominion's reach. The Void Talons used every advantage they had: thermal imaging that could detect body heat through walls, tracking algorithms that predicted movement patterns, sensors that picked up the chemical signature of human sweat from kilometers away. In the frozen wilderness of the Arctic, SEAL Team Osiris should have been easy to find. But 2 days passed, and the void talons found nothing. Just empty snow and silent wind. Their commander, Rakthon, grew frustrated. The humans had to be here somewhere. Intelligence had tracked them to this region. They couldn't just disappear. On the third day, one of the void talons vanished. He was scouting a ridge when his signal cut out. Rakthon sent 2 more to investigate. They found his body in a snowdrift, a single bullet hole through his helmet. Impossible. Their armor could stop plasma fire. How had a primitive human weapon penetrated it? Then the trap started. Pressure mines buried under snow. Designed to explode at chest height, tripwires connected to avalanche charges that brought tons of ice down on unwary talons. Simple tricks the kind warriors learned to avoid in basic training. But the seals placed them in unexpected locations, where the terrain funneled the void talons into narrow paths. Rakthon lost 3 more warriors in one afternoon. He couldn't understand it. His prey was using Stone Age tactics. There was no honor in these methods, no skill. Just dirty tricks and ambushes. Yet somehow it was working. The seals moved like ghosts through the snow. Master Chief Jinho Seo had been fighting in cold weather since he was young. He knew how to move without leaving tracks, how to mask his heat signature with thermal blankets, how to use the terrain itself as a weapon. The void talons were hunters, but they had never hunted prey that fought back with thousands of years of human warfare knowledge. Meanwhile, in orbit, the situation grew worse. The Bloodmaw descended slowly toward Earth, its massive engines burning through the atmosphere. Admiral Taeyang watched it come, knowing his fleet couldn't stop it. The ship was too powerful, too well defended. Every simulation ended the same way. Total defeat. Commander Park stood beside him, reviewing Master Chief Seo's plan for the 100th time. It was insane. Suicide. But it was also the only plan they had. "We need to make a decision," she said quietly. "The Bloodmaw will be in bombardment range in 6 hours." Taeyang looked at the alien commanders on the surrounding screens. The Chitauri, the Lumens, the Dravik. They all looked defeated, ready to retreat and count this as another glorious loss, another world sacrificed in the name of honor. "Call an emergency council," Taeyang said. "Get everyone to the war room," including Master Chief Seo. An hour later, the war room filled with military commanders from across the Federation. They argued in a dozen languages, their translators working overtime. The consensus was clear. Evacuate what they could and abandon Earth. It was the only logical choice. Then the door opened. Master Chief Jinho Seo walked in, his uniform covered in snow and dark stains that looked suspiciously like alien blood. He moved to the center of the room without asking permission, bringing up a holographic display of the Bloodmaw. "Who authorized this human to enter?" demanded a Dravik commander, his scales rippling with irritation. "I did," Taeyang said firmly. "Listen to what he has to say." Jinho ignored the hostility. He was used to it. "You're planning to evacuate. You think you've lost. You're wrong. The Bloodmaw is unstoppable," a Lumen officer said, their crystalline body chiming with emotion. 3 times we have tried to destroy it. 3 times we have failed. What makes you think one human has a better idea? Because you've been fighting by their rules, Jinho said. You match your ships against theirs, your weapons against theirs, strength against strength. That's why you keep losing. He zoomed in on the Bloodmaw's schematics. You see a fortress. I see weak points. Every ship has them. Life support systems, power distribution, command and control. You hit those right and it doesn't matter how thick the armor is. Impossible, the Dravik commander said. Those systems are deep inside the ship. We would need to board it. The Bloodmaw's defenses make boarding impossible. Only if you try to board it in space, Jinho replied. But the Bloodmaw is entering Earth's atmosphere. During re-entry, its shields will be focused on managing heat stress. Its sensors will be dealing with atmospheric interference. Its crew will be focused on descent operations. That's when we board it. The room erupted in protests. It was madness. Suicide. No one could survive attaching to a ship during atmospheric entry. The temperatures alone would melt any boarding craft. Jinho waited for the noise to die down. My team has suits designed for Earth's most extreme environments. We can survive the heat. We attach to the hull, cut through during entry and infiltrate before they know we're there. And then what? Taeyang asked. Even if you get inside, you're 12 people against thousands. We don't fight thousands, Jinho said. We sabotage their systems, plant explosives in key locations, take the bridge, turn their own weapons against them. The Federation fleet keeps them busy with a frontal assault. They'll never expect an infiltration from inside. This plan violates every principle of honorable warfare, the Dravik commander said. Sabotage, deception, attacking from within. It's cowardly. Jinho turned to face him directly. You're right. It's not honorable. It's not fair. It's not the way warriors are supposed to fight. But you know what? It works. And while you're dying with honor, we'll be living without it. He looked around the room, meeting every commander's eyes. You forgot the rule. The most important rule of warfare. If you can't win the fight they want, change the fight. The Vrexians think they've already won. They think you'll follow the rules right up until they kill you. Prove them wrong. Silence filled the war room. Then slowly Admiral Taeyang stood. I approve the operation. Commander Park, coordinate with Master Chief Seo. Give him whatever he needs. All ships will engage the Blood Maw according to standard tactics. Make them think we're fighting the same old fight. The Dravik commander hissed in disapproval, but he didn't argue. The Lumens chimed their agreement. The Chitauri clicked their mandibles nervously. No one liked the plan, but no one had a better one. As the commanders filed out, Hyejin approached Jinho. This is really going to work? Honestly? Jinho checked his equipment. I have no idea. But I'd rather die trying something crazy than wait here for them to kill us all. 5 hours until the Blood Maw reached bombardment range. 5 hours to prepare for the most dangerous operation any of them had ever attempted. 5 hours until they found out if changing the rules could win an unwinnable war. Captain Ryuvik did not usually visit the medical bay in the evening. He had reports to review, systems to check, decisions to make. Running a multi-species research vessel required constant attention. But something pulled him toward medical that night. Concern for his human crew member, perhaps, or curiosity about what Dr. Minho had mentioned earlier about improved vital signs. The door to the medical bay slid open silently. What Ryuvik saw made him stop in his tracks. The harsh white medical lights had been dimmed. In their place, a warm amber glow filled the room, emanating from young Taeyang, who sat cross-legged on the floor. The sound of water, gentle and rhythmic, came from Yuna's sphere. 4 cubs were gathered around Hana's examination table like small guardians. But it was Hana's face that struck him most. She was sitting up now, wrapped in thermal blankets, holding Pip in her lap. And she was teaching them a song, a human song, soft and melodic. Her voice was still rough from illness, but there was life in it. Warmth, joy even. Hush, little baby, do not say a word. Papa's gonna buy you a mockingbird. The cubs listened with fascination, trying to hum along. Pip's ears twitched with the rhythm. Sunwoo's head bobbed slightly. It was a lullaby, Ryuvik realized. A song for young ones. A song about comfort and care and promises of protection. Ryuvik stood frozen in the doorway, unable to move. He had never seen anything like this. In Velkarian culture, illness was a solitary experience. One went to medical, received treatment, and returned to duty when able. There were no songs. No gatherings. Certainly no cubs bringing toys and blankets, but this was something else entirely. This was beauty. Captain. Sunwoo's voice broke through his thoughts. The young Velkarian had spotted him in the doorway. We were visiting Hana. All the cubs turned to look at him. Pip's ears drooped, expecting punishment. Yuna's water sounds faltered. Taeyang's glow dimmed slightly. Even Hana looked worried. I am not angry, Ryuvik said, surprising himself. He stepped into the room fully. I am simply observing. He approached the examination table slowly, studying the scene with his analytical mind. The thermal blankets from engineering, the glowing orb that he recognized as Pip's most treasured possession, the carefully maintained water sounds and bioluminescent light. This was not random. This was planned, intentional, researched. Sunwoo, Ryuvik said, looking at his nephew. Did you coordinate this? Yes, sir, Sunwoo admitted. But it was Pip's idea. He saw that Hana needed more than medicine. We researched human comfort care protocols and implemented appropriate interventions. Even in crisis, his nephew spoke like a scientist. Ryuvik felt a strange mixture of pride and something else. Something softer. We just wanted to help, Pip said in a small voice. Hana is our friend. She was sad and alone. Friends do not let friends be alone when they are sick. Ryuvik looked at the little Corvian. Pip was barely bigger than his hand, covered in soft brown fur with enormous eyes that held surprising wisdom. Friends do not let friends be alone, Ryuvik repeated slowly. Is that a human concept? It is a universal concept, Hana said quietly. At least it should be. She adjusted the blankets around herself. Captain, I know this looks unusual, but they have helped me more than any medicine could. Not because the medicine is not working, but because healing is not just about fixing the body. It is about caring for the whole person. Ryuvik considered her words. In his many years of command, he had overseen countless medical procedures. Crew members got sick, received treatment, and recovered. It was efficient, logical. But had anyone ever recovered with such obvious contentment, with such peace in their eyes? He turned to the door where Dr. Minho had appeared, probably alerted by the door opening. Doctor, Ryuvik said, what are Hana's current vital signs? Dr. Minho checked his scanner. Improved across all metrics, Captain. Heart rate is stable. Temperature has decreased by 0.8 degrees. Stress hormones are significantly reduced. Her recovery is progressing faster than predicted. And you attribute this to what? The antivirals? Dr. Minho's antennae twitched thoughtfully. The antivirals are working as expected, but the accelerated recovery rate correlates with the arrival of the cubs and their comfort interventions. I have been monitoring the situation. The psychological impact on physical healing is measurable. Ryuvik looked around the transformed medical bay again. At the warm light, the soothing sounds, the gathered cubs, the blankets and the glowing orb. At Hana's face, no longer tight with pain and loneliness. Measurable, he said. Yes, Captain. The data is clear. Emotional support has a direct physiological effect on human healing. And I suspect it may be true for other species as well, though we have never tested it, because we have never provided it, Ryuvik said quietly. Correct. Ryuvik moved closer to Hana's table. He looked down at his nephew, who was watching him with careful eyes. Sunwoo, you showed initiative. You identified a need that the adults missed. That is worthy of recognition. Sunwoo's crystalline scales brightened with surprise and pleasure. Thank you, Uncle. All of you, Ryuvik continued, looking at each cub in turn. You have demonstrated something important today. You have shown that care and efficiency are not opposed concepts, that logic and compassion can work together, that sometimes the smallest crew members see what the largest miss. Pip's ears perked up. So we are not in trouble? No, Ryuvik said. You are not in trouble. In fact, I am authorizing you to continue your comfort care. With medical supervision, of course. The cubs exchanged excited looks. Hana smiled, tears gathering in her eyes again. Happy tears, Ryuvik noted. Humans cried when happy. How strange and wonderful. Dr. Minho, Ryuvik said, turning to his medical officer. I want you to document everything. Record the methods these cubs have used. Monitor Hana's recovery in relation to their presence. Create a formal report on emotional comfort as a component of medical care. You want to add this to our medical protocols? Dr. Minho asked. I want to consider it, Ryuvik said. If the data supports its effectiveness, then yes. We should add it to protocols. He paused, looking at Hana. We pride ourselves on being an advanced civilization, on our technology and our efficiency, but perhaps we have forgotten something fundamental in our pursuit of advancement. What is that, Captain? Sunwoo asked. Ryuvik looked at his nephew, at all the cubs, at Hana wrapped in her blankets with Pip purring in her lap. Kindness, he said simply. We forgot about kindness. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Hana spoke, her voice soft but clear. It is not too late to remember. No, Ryuvik agreed. It is not too late. He stayed for a while longer, watching as Hana continued teaching the cubs her lullaby, watching as Taeyang adjusted his glow to match the rhythm of the song, watching as Yuna added gentle variations to her water sounds, watching as Pip nestled closer to Hana, his small body radiating trust and affection. And Ryuvik felt something shift inside his own chest. A warmth that had nothing to do with thermal blankets. A softness that had nothing to do with weakness. For the first time in many years, Captain Ryuvik felt what humans might call hope. Hope that they could be better. Hope that they could learn. Hope that 4 small cubs and 1 sick human were teaching the entire ship something precious and true. That caring was not inefficient. That kindness was not weakness. That love in all its forms was the most advanced technology of all. Petty Officer Yunji-nam's fingers flew across the alien console. The Vrexian computer systems were complex, but they followed patterns she recognized. Every system had backdoors. Every network had vulnerabilities. You just had to know where to look. Behind her, the rest of SEAL Team Osiris set up defensive positions around the bridge. They stacked equipment, overturned consoles for cover, and prepared for the counterattack they knew was coming. The Rexian crew wouldn't let humans hold their command center. They would throw everything they had at retaking it. General Vorthak lay on the floor, his leg wound being treated by one of his own medics. He stared at Master Chief Jinho Seo with a mixture of hatred and confusion. "You have no honor," he growled. "I would have given you a warrior's death. You shot me like an animal." Jinho checked his rifle's ammunition. "I don't need your honor. I need to go home." "Big difference, but you are cowards," Vorthak spat. "All of you. Sneaking onto my ship, attacking from within, using deception and tricks. These are not the ways of warriors." "You're right," Jinho agreed. "We're not warriors. We're survivors. And survivors do what works, not what looks good." "Got it," Yunji shouted. The main display lit up, showing the Bloodmaw's weapon systems now under her control. "I have access to the primary cannons. Also their communications network. We can broadcast to the entire Vrexian fleet." Jinho moved to the communication station. "Open a channel. All frequencies. I want every Vrexian ship to hear this." The channel opened. Jinho's voice went out across space, transmitted to hundreds of enemy vessels. "This is Master Chief Jinho Seo of Earth's Naval Special Warfare Command. Your flagship is under our control. General Vorthak is captured. If you continue your attack, we will use the Bloodmaw's weapons against you." Silence. The Vrexian fleet didn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. Humans didn't have the technology to take a ship like the Bloodmaw. "It had to be a trick, Yunji," Jinho said calmly. "Target their two closest destroyers. Fire main cannons." The Bloodmaw's primary weapons came online, their targeting systems locking onto friendly Vrexian ships. The cannons fired. Massive beams of energy that could punch through planetary shields. The two destroyers barely had time to react before they were torn apart, their hulls breaking into pieces. On Aegis 7, Commander Hyejin Park watched the tactical display with disbelief. The Vrexian fleet was breaking formation, ships scattering in confusion. Some were trying to retreat. Others were firing on each other, thinking they had turned traitor. It was chaos. Admiral Taeyang stood beside her, equally stunned. They did it. Those crazy humans actually did it. But the victory came with a price. On the Bloodmaw's bridge, alarms began to sound. Vrexian reinforcements were converging on their position. Hundreds of soldiers moving through the ship's corridors toward the command center. "Contact front," Lieutenant Sang-Hoon Lee shouted. He opened fire down the main corridor, his rifle chattering. Vrexian soldiers poured through the doorways, their plasma weapons lighting up the darkness. The SEALs fell back to their prepared positions, using the overturned consoles as cover. Sang-Hoon's sniper fire picked off officers, creating confusion in the Vrexian ranks. Minsu detonated charges in the corridors, collapsing sections and slowing the enemy advance. But there were too many. For every Vrexian they killed, two more appeared. The SEALs were running out of ammunition, running out of time. A plasma bolt caught Minsu in the shoulder. He went down hard, his armor smoking. Two team members dragged him behind cover while the others kept firing. The medic worked frantically, trying to stabilize him. "How bad?" Jinho asked, not taking his eyes off the corridor. "Bad," the medic replied. "He needs a hospital, not a battlefield." Minsu coughed, tried to laugh. "Told you this was just another Tuesday, boss." "Tuesdays always suck." Jinho gripped his friend's good shoulder. 20 years they had served together. 20 years of impossible missions and narrow escapes. He couldn't lose him now. "Not like this, sir," Yunji called out. "The Federation fleet is requesting permission to board. They can get reinforcements here in 10 minutes. Tell them to hurry," Jinho replied. "We won't last 10 minutes, but they held. When their rifles ran dry, they used captured Vrexian weapons. When those ran out, they fought with knives and bare hands. Every meter of corridor cost the Vrexians blood. Every second of delay bought time for reinforcements to arrive. Sang-Hoon took a plasma bolt to the leg and kept firing. Another SEAL went down, then another. The defensive perimeter shrank smaller and smaller until they were packed into the bridge itself, using the doorway as a choke point. Then, finally, new sounds echoed through the corridors. Human voices shouting orders. The distinctive crack of Federation weapons. Captain Doyen Choi's ground forces had arrived, cutting through the Vrexian reinforcements from behind. The Vrexian assault broke. Caught between SEAL Team Osiris and the Federation reinforcements, they retreated in disorder. Within minutes, the corridors around the bridge were secure. Commander Hyejin Park came through the ruined doorway, stepping over debris and bodies. She looked around the bridge at the exhausted SEALs, at Minsu being carried out on a stretcher, at the Vrexian crew sitting under guard. "You did it," she said to Jinho. "You saved Earth." Jinho looked at his wounded team members, at the 2 body bags being zipped up in the corner. "We did what we had to. That's all." General Vorthak watched this exchange from where he lay. His face showed something new, something besides anger. Respect, maybe, or at least understanding. "You fight without honor," he said again. But this time it didn't sound like an accusation, just an observation. "No," Jinho replied. "We just have different priorities. You fight for glory. We fight to see tomorrow. Neither way is wrong, but only one way keeps us alive." The Vrexian fleet was in full retreat now, their ships jumping to faster than light speed as quickly as they could charge their drives. The siege of Earth was over. Humanity had won, not through superior technology or greater numbers, but through sheer stubborn refusal to fight by the enemy's rules. On Aegis 7, Admiral Taeyang watched the tactical display as the last Vrexian ship disappeared. He felt exhausted and elated at the same time. They had won. Against all odds, they had actually won. But he also felt troubled. The galaxy had rules for warfare, rules that civilized species had followed for thousands of years. Today those rules had been broken, and it had worked. What did that mean for the future? What precedent had they set? A message came through from the Galactic Council. They were convening an emergency session to discuss Earth's actions. Some species were celebrating. Others were horrified. The Dravik demanded that humanity be sanctioned for violating the codes of honorable warfare. The Chitauri wanted to learn these new tactics. The Lumens weren't sure what to think. Taeyang knew this was just the beginning. The war wasn't over. The Vrexian Dominion still controlled half the galaxy. But something had changed today. Humanity had shown the galaxy a different way to fight. A way that ignored tradition and honor in favor of simple effectiveness. He wondered if that was a good thing or a terrible mistake. Time would tell. For now, Earth was safe. That had to be enough. Down in the medical bay of the Blood Maw, Senior Chief Minsu Huang lay in a hospital bed, surrounded by alien medical equipment. Jinho sat beside him, waiting for the doctors to finish their work. "You know what the worst part is?" Minsu asked, his voice weak. "What's that?" "Now they're going to ask us to do it again. Somewhere else. Some other impossible mission. Because we proved it works." Jinho smiled tiredly. "Yeah, probably. Then I guess we better heal up fast. Can't let those alien species have all the fun learning to fight dirty." Through the window, Earth hung in space, blue and beautiful and safe. For now, the war would continue. The Vrexians would adapt. New threats would emerge. But humanity had proven something important today. They had proven that sometimes breaking the rules was the only way to win. And in a galaxy full of warriors who fought for honor and glory, that made humans the most dangerous species of all, because they fought for something simpler and more powerful: survival. And they were very, very good at it.